The Tibetan exercises or the exercises of Lamasery. It is necessary to know that in the human body, in the cellular organism, there are some chakras which we call specific, special for organic vitality. They are vortices through which prana, life enters our organism. The first is the occipital, the second is the frontal, the third is the laryngeal situated in the throat, the fourth is the hepatic, the fifth is the prostatic. And besides these, there are 2 at our knees, 7 in all. These 7 chakras are basic, I repeat, for the vitality of the physical organism. Through these chakras, life, prana enters the vital body, which is the seat of all organic activity. The laryngeal, for example, concords, relates with the prostatic. That is why one should take care of his or her voice or word. We need to carefully avoid vocal sounds which are shrieking or too low. If we carefully observe the lives of many decrepit old people, we can perfectly verify that they emit many sounds which we could call shrieking. This falsifies their sexual potency. The same thing occurs with sounds which are too deep or cavernous. These sounds also falsify sexual potency. Therefore, the male's voice should remain within the normal, and that of the woman should also be not too low or too shrieking, because this falsifies sexual potency, due to the intimate relation between that larynx and the sexual center. One could argue that the woman does not have a prostate, that is so, but she has the prostatic chakra which is related to the uterus and plays a very important role in her, as important as the prostatic chakra in the man. We could call the prostatic chakra in the woman the uterine chakra, and we already know the importance of the uterus in the woman. After this short preamble, we shall narrate for the benefit of our Gnostic brothers something of great importance. When it comes to matters of information, it so happens that some time ago, an English colonel, retired from active military service, lived in India. He was a man of about 60 years, and he had a young friend. That colonel heard about Lamasery which existed in Tibet, where people become young, where many arrived old and left young. Anyway, this is something which I shall later narrate to you in a precise manner. For now, I only want to explain to you the reason, the purpose of these 6 rites which make it possible to recapture youth, like that which the English colonel sought. The first thing that we should do is seek health, because a healthy body is good for everything, withstands everything and responds at all moments, so we can demand material and spiritual work from it. The first thing, as I already said, is to cure the body and maintain it resistant during our entire lifetime. The next thing then, is to maintain it in good conditions. Because what does one do with a sick body? It is obvious that an esotericist, an initiate, should never be sick. Illnesses and tormenting problems are for people who are not on the real path. Is it not so? But he who is on the path should not be decrepit nor sick, that is clear. So, there is a series of very important esoteric exercises. In esotericism, much has been said, for example, about Kundalini Yoga, about the Viparitha Karana Mudra, and the dancing dervishes or whirling dervishes. There are dervishes who are able to execute certain marvelous dances in Pakistan, in India, etc., and awaken certain faculties, chakras. All that is urgent to know if one wants to have a young body and to develop the chakras. Therefore, we shall see this series of exercises. Young people do not appreciate the value of youth because they are young, but old people do appreciate the treasure that youth is. Nonetheless, with these 6 rites that we will practice, an old person can rejuvenate. It is clear that with these rites, if the person is young, he or she can remain young, and if the person is old, he or she can recapture their youth. With these exercises any person can cure his own pains. We will see here the Mayurasana, the kneeling position, the position of the table that is seen in some sacred ruins, etc. It is a synthesis of esoteric exercises, documented in India, Persia, Pakistan, Turkey, Yucatan, Mexico, etc. I have seen some publication, but they do not teach the formula as fully equilibrated as is necessary. Therefore, what I am going to teach you is very important, and you can very well teach it in South America to all the brothers in the Gnostic movement. First, so that old people can become young again. Men of 70 years can, for example, become men of 35 or 40 years. Some will ask me why is it that I do not look young, and it is simply because I was not interested in conserving the physical body. But now that I am informed that I have to conserve this body for an indefinite time so as to begin the age of Aquarius, it is obvious that I have to practice these exercises. Some time ago I saw a publication that was sent to me from Costa Rica that had these rites in it, since these rites are not the exclusive property of anyone. There are some lamaseries in the Himalayas and other places where these rites are practiced, most of all in a lamasery that is called the Fountain of Youth. But it is clear that even though many exercises are practiced there, I could not find all the documentation of these exercises in the above-mentioned publication. I found some data that was obtained from the same lamasery which I know very well, just as I know other schools in India. It is simply a matter of bothering to travel a little through Turkey, Persia, Pakistan, etc. There one will learn something about the dancing or whirling dervishes, etc. We need to meditate on what being on one's knees symbolizes. When one is a child, one unconsciously practices certain exercises. Anyway, in that publication, I saw a pretty interesting story. In the magazine in question, they told the case of the English colonel. While in India at the age of 70 years, he learned that a lamasery existed in Tibet where people could rejuvenate. He invited a friend that he had to come along. His friend was young and obviously did not want to listen to him because he may have thought that since he was young, there was no reason to seek the place to rejuvenate. On the day of the old man's departure, his young friend, as is to be supposed, laughed a great deal to see this poor 70-years-old man, with his cane, bald head, a few white hairs, very old, traveling towards the Himalayas in search of youth. His young friend thought, how funny, this old man has already lived his life and wants to live it again. And of course, he saw the old man leave and the only thing it caused in him was laughter. The interesting thing of it all is that after about 4 months, the colonel's young friend received a letter from the old man in which he said that he was already on the track of the lamasery called the Fountain of Youth. And that, of course, caused him laughter, and that is how the matter remained. The truth is that for 4 years, something which was no longer a laughing matter happened. Someone knocked at the young man's door. The young man came, opened the door and said, "At your service, what can I do for you?" The visitor, who appeared to be a man of about 35 to 40 years, answered, "I am Colonel so-and-so." "Ah," said the young man, "are you the son of the colonel who left for the Himalayas?" "No," he answered, "I am the colonel himself." "But how is that possible if I know the colonel? He is my friend and he is an old man, and you are not old." "I repeat, I am the colonel who wrote you a letter 4 months after my departure informing you that I had found the way to the Lamasery." The visitor showed the young man his documentation and obviously, the latter was astonished. The interesting thing is that while in the Himalayas, the colonel saw many youths with whom he made friends at the Lamasery called the Fountain of Youth. There was not a single old man there, everybody was young. He was the only old person. All the others were persons between 35 and 40 years. But later, after he became a very good friend of many, he discovered that all of them were older than 100 years old. In other words, all of them were older than he was, but none of them showed signs of old age. Of course, the colonel was astonished. He committed himself to the discipline of the Lamasery and succeeded in reconquering his youth. Well, I read all of this in that publication they sent me, but I personally know that Lamasery. I have been there. It is a pretty large building with immense courtyards. The males work in one courtyard and the female initiates in another. Not only are there Tibetan women initiates in the Lamasery, but English, French, German and other European women as well. I know all the exercises that are taught there, ever since ancient times. I have known the whirling movements among the Mohammedans and they constitute part of the esoteric aspect of Mohammedanism and are practiced, as I already said, by the dancing dervishes. As far as the kneeling position is concerned, that belongs to esoteric mysticism, to special technical movements. The table posture is found in Yucatan, the position which some call the lizard posture, which is an exercise meant to reduce the abdomen, is documented in Hindustan, in Kundalini Yoga and is simply called Mayurasana. The position with feet pointing upwards has ample documentation. It has always been known as the Viparitha Karana Mudra. We find it in many sacred texts, and there exists the famous Vajroli Mudra, which is useful for sexual transmutation for bachelors, and also helps a great deal those who work with the Sahaja Maithuna. Therefore, this series of exercises is not the exclusive property of any one person. As I say, many publications have been made, but few are the ones that know the esoteric part. I know the esoteric part, not merely because of what may have been said by the mentioned publication from Costa Rica or many others that we have seen while talking about these exercises, but because I know them from a very long time ago. I know them practically since Lemuria. For example, the Viparitha Karana Mudra, I practiced it intensely when I was reincarnated in the continent of Lemuria or Mu, and I know that it is very important. The lamas who work in that Lamasery called the Foundation of Youth practice said rites. They use a prayer rug, a small rug in which the exercises can be done. They lie down, kneel, sit, etc. Meditation and prayer correspond to each position or sadhana, in other words, an intensification on any of the mystical aspects for each change of posture, depending on the purpose of each exercise. Healing with the help of the Holy Spirit. The Divine Mother Kundalini is the central object of each sadhana. When doing these exercises, one is in perfect concentration, is praying, is begging, pleading to the Divine Mother for his most pressing need. Through her, one can ask the Logos, she intercedes before the Logos. Pleads for one, begs for one. She has great power. One begs her, the Divine Mother, to intercede for him or her before the third Logos, for a cure, for the awakening of our consciousness, the awakening of any chakra, etc. Each position is different and means intensification of prayer, petitioning, pleading, begging. In these exercises of meditation, concentration and pleading, one can very well as his Divine Mother to invoke her Divine Husband, the third Logos, the very sacred Holy Spirit. We already know very well that the husband of the Divine Mother is the Holy Spirit. We have to beg and intensely beseech our Divine Mother so that she, in turn, begs and beseeches her Divine Husband to cure us, and relieve any illness or pain that is bothering us. Then she will concentrate in the Logos, her husband, the Arch-Hierophant or Archmagus as he is called, so that he may come and heal such and such a sick organ that impedes us from rendering work. In these moments, one should identify with the Logos, with the Holy Spirit, and, in a tremendous, imperious form, command the sick organ saying, "Be healed, be healed, be healed. Work, work, work." One has to talk to the organ with true faith, with energy, with courage. Since it has to be healed perforce, one has to definitely concentrate on each cell of the sick organ, on each atom, on each molecule, on each electron of the sick organ, ordering it to work, to be healed, that it be cured, while being profoundly concentrated on the Logos, plainly identified with the Holy Spirit. That in these moments is performing the cure, healing the sick organ. In this way, the organ will have to be healed, it will have to be cured. That is obvious. Therefore, it is advisable that each person learns to cure himself. Through the strength of the Holy Spirit, one is able to cure himself. One is able to cure any illness. Always being sick is very sad, very painful, and he, who is on the path, as I have told you, should have no reason for being sick. With these exercises then, the chakras are developed, and, on the other hand, the organism is healed. There are very important chakras, that of the occipital, for example, which is the door through which strength enters the organism. The frontal is another door through which vital forces penetrate the organism when the chakras are developed. The larynx, as I have said, has an intimate relationship with the prostatic chakra, which is the one having to do with the sex. Both male as well as female, and the prostate as well as the larynx are important for the health of the organism. There is the chakra of the liver also. You know that the liver is a true laboratory. One has to develop this chakra so that the liver functions correctly, because when the liver functions well, the organism also functions well. There are also the chakras of the knees. They are 2 in each knee, and they are vital to the human body. These vortices of strength should whirl intensively so life, prana, and health enters the human body. First exercise. The student stands up with arms extended from side to side in the form of a cross. He will then begin to turn around, to turn from left to right like the hands of the clock, see figure 1. It is clear that the chakras will also turn on executing this exercise with some intensity and after some time of practice. Imagine that you are standing in the center of a clock and turn in the same direction of the hands of the clock, until you complete 12 turns. It is clear that you will begin with few turns until the day arrives when you can do all 12. It will be done with eyes open, and when you finish turning, you will close your eyes so as not to fall, because you will end up a little drunk, depending on the number of turns you are able to stand. But rotating, you will one day have to be able to do the complete exercise of 12 turns. The student will remain his or her eyes closed until the dizziness has disappeared. Meanwhile, he will continue praying, pleading, imploring the Divine Mother to plead and beg her divine husband to grant the cure of a particular sick organ. The student will be totally identified with the logos and intensely asking the Divine Mother so that she may intercede for the student before the logos. You have to turn from left to right, because among the mediums of spiritualism, the chakras turn from right to left in a negative form, and that is not good. We are not mediums or anything of the sort. We must develop our chakras in a positive manner. Therefore, the system that I am teaching you is marvelous, because it permits the development of the chakras and the curing of illnesses. All the other exercises complement each other. You will execute the exercise yourself in a practical manner. Concentrate on the Divine Mother Kundalini, feet together in military style, firm, arms extended from side to side. Now begin to rotate from left to right, intensely asking for what you most desire, above all the cure of the organ in you that may be sick, right? And the next thing is for your chakras to rotate. It is clear that if you rotate from left to right in the same direction as the hands of the clock seen from in front, the chakras will rotate positively. Therefore, turn around and around at the rhythm you consider convenient. 12 turns is what is required. From there on, if one wants to continue with another 1,000, then that is one's business. During the turns you are doing, you should concentrate on your Divine Mother. Kundalini, asked her to summon the Holy Spirit, imploring him to cure you, begging the logos to heal you. Besides, one has to open that sick organ, telling it, "Open se Samael." This mantra that appears in the 1001 Nights will be repeated at least 3 times. People think that after all, it is a simply very beautiful tale and do not pay attention to that mantra. But it is an authentic mantra. Open sesame. One commands the organ so that the healing vital energy enters you, then enters the force of the Holy Spirit, and it is clear that it is healed with the force of the third logos. But one has to do it with much faith, and faith and faith. Second exercise. You have now finished rotating and have opened your eyes. Now you should lie on the floor on your back, in other words, face upwards with your heels together, legs stretched out, arms opened horizontally, extended from side to side in the form of a cross, looking up towards the ceiling of the house. Now you intensify your concentration, intensify your meditation on the Divine Mother Kundalini, begging, imploring her to heal the sick organ that you want to heal. Also at that moment, those who are not healing themselves can ask for any other necessity, such as the elimination of any psychological defect or the development of any psychic power, etc. One has the right to ask. That is what these exercises are for. Here, lying on your back on the floor, you supplicate and intensify your prayers, petitions, completely identified with the third logos. You are lying there. You now know how to supplicate and ask in this position, see figure 2. Third exercise. You are already lying down. You have made your petitions. Now raise your legs until they are in a vertical position, see figure 3. It is not longer necessary to keep your hands in the form of a cross. With your hands, you can help sustain legs by holding them at the back of your knees, making sure that your legs are as vertical as possible, but without raising your buttocks from the floor, or more clearly said, your waist should be well placed on the floor, touching the floor. This is what is called the Viparitha Karana Mudra in the Orient. All the blood then flows towards the head. It is precipitated towards the cranium to set determined areas of the cerebrum to work and to fortify the senses. To fortify the eyesight. It is necessary to have good eyesight, a good sense of smell, touch, hearing and taste, etc. You should remain in that posture for some time, while you intensify your petitions to the Divine Mother Kundalini, begging, supplicating her to help us to obtain, with the help of her divine spouse, the benefit we need, the cure, the faculty, the disintegration of the defect, etc. Well, that is enough. You have done the exercise. You have supplicated to the Divine Mother to bring you the third logos, and you are totally identified with him so that he may heal you or awaken a particular faculty, etc. These exercises are also effective to awaken the chakras, as I have already said. The Gnostic Arhat can enter the path of the awakening of consciousness. Before everything else, one should go to the practical part. You already know the dance of the dervishes, the Viparitha Karana Mudra and other postures. Remember that you need to open the sick organ with the imagination imperatively commanding it. Open se same. Open se same. Open se same. These exercises are not merely physical, but they are 6 methods of prayer. It is a different system of healing and rejuvenation through prayer. The Lamas practice these 6 rites on a prayer mat. It can be a mat or a carpet or however you want to call it. There are so many words, and each country has many names to call an object or thing, and it is clear that one is forced to use different terms so that people may understand. Of course, one has to become accustomed to these exercises with much patience, slowly, until the day arrives when one can do them easily. They are not meant to be done all at once. No, we must slowly condition the organism, and little by little one does the exercise better until it is done correctly. As far as conditioning the body is concerned, some may take days, others weeks, other months, others years. These exercises are not for citizens of a particular country either. They are for all the Gnostic citizens of the world. I do not know how people are bottled up in that which is called patriotism. My country and your country is the same country. Men have divided the earth into parcels and more parcels and have placed a flag on each parcel. Erected a few statues to their heroes, filled frontiers with savage hordes armed to the teeth, etc., and that they call country. It is very sad that the earth be divided into parcels. The day will arrive when the earth will have to change. Unfortunately, change on this planet is very difficult. Only after the great cataclysm will we have the planet converted into one great country. But let us limit ourselves to the exercise that I am teaching you. Exercise 4th. Now you kneel on the floor, or you place yourself on your knees facing the Orient, see figure 4, towards the place where the sun rises, bowing your head down a little only, not too much. Next you should do 3 pranayamas like this. Pranayama. You place the index finger of your right hand on your left nostril. Inhale through the right nostril. Now you press with both the index finger and the thumb both nostrils. You hold your breath for a few seconds. Next you uncover your left nostril, and you exhale all the air. Now you inhale through the left nostril, covering the right nostril with your thumb. You press the 2 nostrils with the thumb and index finger, repeating the exercise twice more until you complete 3 inhalations and 3 exhalations for each nostril. This is equivalent to 3 pranayamas. Remember that only 2 fingers are used and no more, exclusively the index and the thumb of the right hand. You close with one, inhale through the other nostril, close both, uncover the other, etc. It is like a game that when you close one, you uncover the other and vice versa. You have already done this exercise. Now you lower your head and enter into prayer to the Divine Mother Kundalini Shakti, supplicating Devi Kundalini for what you need, etc. 5th exercise. Now, remaining in this position, you incline your body backwards, maintaining the kneeling position. Your arms should continue touching the body lengthwise. Throw your body backwards as far back as you can and remain there a few seconds, begging, supplicating, imploring the Blessed Mother Kundalini to intercede for you before the most sacred Holy Spirit to grant you the benefit that you have asked for, be it of healing or of any other purpose. This exercise is fairly short due to how strong or difficult it is, but it is very good. It makes the body more agile and burns away some toxins. The interesting thing is to do it the best way we can. See figure 5. Remember well that in each exercise there is the need for begging and supplicating intensely, if necessary, crying in order for her to call the third logos to heal the sick organ you have. Remember that she is the mediator, the one who can invoke the Logos, who is her divine husband, the most sacred Holy Spirit, Shiva, as he is called in the Orient, the Arch-Hierophant, the Archmagus, the firstborn of creation. The swan of living plumage, the white dove, the immortal Hierophant. The secret master, whom we all committed the error in the past, of murdering, and we murder him when we commit the original sin. That is why we need to resurrect him from among the dead, exclaim with all the forces of our heart. The king has died, long live the king! Sixth exercise. Now you shall proceed in the following manner. You will sit on the floor with your feet stretched and your hands placed backwards on the floor, the trunk of the body somewhat inclined backwards resting on your hands, your head looking forward, see figure 6, heels together, your feet open like a fan. Here, you once again make your petition, the supplication with much faith and devotion to the Divine Mother. Seventh exercise. Now, to execute this exercise, all is necessary is to bend your leg a little, placing the soles of the feet on the floor and raising your buttocks and your belly or abdomen, remaining in the position of a table. Knees, abdomen and face forming one straight horizontal line. The face should be looking up towards the ceiling of the house. The body should be supported by the hands and the feet forming, as I already said, a human table according to the figure 7. In this posture, you should intensify the implorations and supplications to the Blessed Mother Devi Kundalini, asking her to invoke her divine husband, the most sacred Holy Spirit, to come and effect the cure you need. This I have explained to you many times, but it is good that you do not forget so that the exercise be complete, because it is not merely something physical. It is something different, something equilibrated. Eighth exercise. We shall now look the exercise called Mayurasana. Before anything else, it is necessary that you do 3 pranayamas, as you did it in the exercise number 4, and after the pranayamas of which the exercise is comprised, then you place yourself in the position of a lizard that appears in the figure 8. There are many people that practice the lizard posture, precisely to put an end to the bulging abdomen, in other words, what we call the belly. An inflated abdomen. This exercise has 2 positions. First movement, the hands placed on the floor, supported like a lizard, sustain yourself on the point of the feet, with legs stretched backwards. Face looking forward, maintaining in a straight line, the back, neck, buttocks, legs, heels, just like a lizard. See figure 8. Second movement, lower the head, tuck it below the chest as much as possible and do this movement, downwards, upwards, etc. See figure 9. Here, implore the Divine Mother that she may activate all the chakras. Ninth exercise. From that same position, where you have your head tucked well under your chest because you are doing the lizard, which is with the head tucked well downwards, now, as you are, with your hands still in their place, you advance a few short steps forward, until you are converted into a human arc. See figure 10. There, on 4 legs, with the head tucked in below the chest forming a perfect human arc, you can, or you should begin praying, asking, pleading, begging, as I have taught you, to your Divine Mother for what you most need. Underneath you, cars and carriages can pass because you should form a type of human arc. Now, after remaining in this position and praying for a moment, you lower your knees a little, you bend them so as to lower the body, you lift the hands and you get up, putting an end to the exercise. Remember that with this position of the human arc as you have just done it, one makes the blood rush to the head and cleanse and irrigate with lymph all the cranial zones. All these exercises are very specific in ending that belly or paunch. I do not know why people love to maintain their bulging stomach. The curve of happiness. One should never have a stomach full of fat. With this exercise, goodbye potbelly. 10th exercise. You lie down on your back on the floor, then you raise your legs and place them in a vertical position against the wall. You should place yourself very close to the wall for this exercise, back on the floor, without a pillow. Hands and arms on the floor parallel with the body. See figure 11. This exercise is done specially to carry out a great work that can only be executed by the most sacred Holy Spirit, within our organism. In our brain we have a moon which makes us the most lunar beings of the world. Our actions are negative and lunar, because the moon is in our cerebrum. On the other hand, We have a marvelous sun in the umbilical region. Ever since we came out of paradise, that luminous cerebral sun was transported to the umbilicus and the cold moon went to the cerebrum. Then, keeping this aspect in mind, while lying in that position, we beg the most sacred Holy Spirit to execute this transplant for us, to take the moon from the brain and place it at our umbilicus and simultaneously take the luminous sun from our umbilicus and deposit it in our brain. It is clear that it is up to us to practice the exercise of the Viparitha Karana Mudra incessantly, constantly, permanently, just as you are seeing it, begging, pleading, imploring the Holy Spirit to concede us the grace of making this change, placing the moon that we have in our brain at our umbilicus and placing the sun we have at our umbilicus in our brain. This is a task that only the third logos can do. One should implore and plead, concentrating profoundly on the third logos, so that he may come and perform the transplant of the moon to the umbilicus and the sun to the brain. This Viparitha Karana Mudra is a truly marvelous rite to obtain the rejuvenation of the physical body. To reconquer that lost youth once more is urgent and necessary. The body should remain young and vigorous in the initiate that marches down the path of the razor's edge. Whoever manages to perform this exercise for 3 complete hours will defeat death and will have to reconquer youth. But of course, we should begin doing it for no more than 5 minutes and then we will increase the time gradually, slowly, patiently, for example, increasing it by 1 minute daily. Whoever aspires to a rejuvenation of the body and a cure for all sickness, here we give them the marvelous formula, the Viparitha Karana Mudra, understood? 11th exercise Vajroli Mudra. Transmutation for bachelors. We will now enter the treatise of the 6th rite which exactly relates to the Vajroli Mudra. It deals with the transmutation of the sexual energy. This type of energy is the finest that is constructed by the organism. It is, we can say, the most subtle force with which the body works. The human vehicle has its very fine channels through which this energy circulates, and it cannot come out of its channels. When it bursts into other channels, it is obvious that catastrophe befalls. It is a marvelous explosive force which we have to learn to direct wisely, if we truly want the intimate self-realization of our being. Undoubtedly, the Vajroli Mudra is specially for bachelors, although it also helps married persons. Especially we can say that in the Vajroli Mudra, the bachelors have a fundamental system to sustain themselves as brahmacharya, in other words, in chastity. Whoever does not have a wife, or women who do not have a husband, must maintain themselves in brahmacharya, that is clear, until the day arrives when the men have their priestesses or the women their husbands. Many bachelors would like to be fulfilling their sexual functions here, there and everywhere with different women. That is fornication, that is prohibited to the aspirants of initiation. The individual, who truly wants to reach initiation, cannot be mingling with different women, because in this case, the law is being violated, transgressing against the 6th commandment of God. Thou shalt not commit fornication. The celibate should remain firm in brahmacharya until his wife arrives. He must establish himself firmly in brahmacharya, and it is impossible to do so without knowing how to transmute the sexual energy. Whoever wants to learn to transmute must know the Vajroli Mudra in depth, and if he does not know it, then he does not have the science of transmutation. The Vajroli Mudra, among other things, has the advantage that it enables the bachelor, in spite of being single, to preserve his sexual potency and not lose his virility. Normally, an organ that is not used becomes atrophied. If one stops using a hand, the latter becomes atrophied. If one stops using a leg, it no longer functions. Likewise, if one stops using his procreative organs, well, they simply become atrophied and the man becomes impotent, and then he is in trouble. But with the Vajroli Mudra, one can conserve his sexual potency for the entire life. I do not mean to say, and let me make it clear, it is not that with the Vajroli Mudra an individual will create the existential bodies of the being, no. I am not making this type of affirmations, either am I saying that with this, one will attain the intimate self-realization of the inner being, no. Whoever wants to achieve self-realization has to work in the forge of the Cyclops, that is clear. It so happens that with the Vajroli Mudra, one works with only one force, in the case of the man, well, only with the masculine force, nothing else, and in the case of the woman, well, only with the feminine force, nothing else. So as to create the superior existential bodies of the being, one needs more than this. One needs to work with the three forces of nature and the cosmos. First, the masculine force. Second, the feminine force that is in the woman. And third, the neutral force, which is the holy conciliatory force that brings the two together. As I have said, the masculine force is the holy affirmation, the feminine is the holy denial, and the neutral is the holy conciliatory force. It is clear that for creation to take place, three forces are needed. That is why the Mithuna is indispensable so as to be able to create the superior existential bodies of the being. Run-of-the-mill people do not possess the astral, mental, or causal bodies. One has to create such bodies, and this can only be done through the Mithuna or sexual magic. However, the Vajroli Mudra serves, I repeat, the men and women who do not have a spouse and also the couples who are working with the Sahaja Mithuna, because it helps them to sublimate and transmute the sexual energy. The Vajroli Mudra is, therefore, useful for bachelors, spinsters, and married people. This explanation is enough. I will now give the technique of the Vajroli Mudra. I am standing here. I am bending forward slowly, either to the sides nor backwards, but forward, as if one is bowing very profoundly, and I slowly continue lowering the palms of my hands until I reach my knees. But as I am doing this operation, I am exhaling my breath so as to empty my lungs of all air, so that when I can finally touch my knees, I have no air in the lungs. We are here ready to continue the exercise, but I have not yet inhaled. My lungs are completely empty. I continue lowering my hands towards the procreative organs, but I still have not filled my lungs with air. I now apply a massage on my prostate, so that the vibration touches the prostate and carries out the sexual transmutation. Not only do I apply the massage on the prostate, I can and I should do it on the sexual organs, with firmness. Next, after I have applied the massage on the procreative genital organs, I then lift my body until I am completely straight, with my hands on my waist. When I have done the massage and returned my hands to my waist, I then inhale, filling my lungs with air, taking the energy to the brain through the channels of Ida and Pingala. Then I slowly exhale, and I repeat the same procedure 3 times. In reference to massages of the prostate and the sexual organs, there are 3 types of massage. First, the massage that is done very lightly on the prostate and the sexual organs. Second, a medium massage, little stronger on the prostate and sexual organs. Third, strong massage on the prostate and the sexual organs. It is clear that the strong massage on the prostate and the sexual organs produces the erection of the phallus. That is obvious, and it has to be that way, and that is this 3rd type of massage is advisable for bachelors. In other words, for those who do not have a wife, for them this 3rd type of massage is advisable. Thus, when the phallus is erected, transmutation of the semen into energy is produced, and it is made to rise to the brain. As for married men, the 1st and 2nd type of massage is convenient. Or even the 1st type is more than enough, since they have a wife, and it is clear that through the Sahaja Mithuna they bring about a complete erection of the phallus. So, there you have what in the Orient is called the Vajroli Mudra. In the case of the woman, the Vajroli Mudra is the same, except that the woman should apply the massages to the left and the right ovary and on her feminine organs, to be clearer, over her vagina or female sexual organs. Then transmutation of the sexual energy in the woman is produced. The same thing for the married woman, soft massage only. She does not need this strong massage. But the unmarried woman needs the massage a little stronger so as to produce the transmutation of her own sexual energy. That is necessary so that the energy will rise to the brain. Therefore, it is necessary for there to exist tremendous willpower during the Vajroli Mudra, so that no lustful thought will cross the minds of the students. We must control the senses. We must subdue the mind. When the Vajroli Mudra is practiced, one must be concentrated on the Divine Mother Kundalini, or on the 3rd logos. If one concentrates exclusively on the sexual organs during the practice and forgets the Divine Mother and the 3rd logos, then he does not sublimate the energy, and that goes against cosmic law. Moreover, keep in mind that if the human being does not have enough purity of thoughts, he can degenerate and become a masturbator. Awaiting the impure and masturbators is the abyss and the second death, where only crying and the gnashing of teeth is heard. Therefore, the Vajroli Mudra is for men and women who are completely chaste, who are truly decided to tread the path of the most absolute chastity. The Vajroli Mudra, strongly and very vigorously applied, can only be practiced once a day, and for that, the individual needs to be very serious and respectful of his own body. We are referring to bachelors. A married individual does not need to practice the Vajroli Mudra vigorously, since he achieves erection with his wife priestess. Likewise, a woman who has a husband does not need to practice the Vajroli Mudra vigorously, because that is why she has her husband. In this case, both married men and women should do their massages very softly. What one seeks is to elevate that subtle and delicate procreative energy to the cerebrum. In the case of the married man, as I have already indicated to you, only a light massage over the prostate and sexual organs is sufficient, and in the case of the woman, a light massage in a very subtle and soft manner over the ovaries and the uterus. This is not harmful at all and can be practiced each time one works with the 6 rites aforementioned, without the least problem. In this manner, she is sublimating her sexual energy, constantly, incessantly, and taking advantage of it for regeneration. I am talking very clearly so that to be understood. This, exactly as I have taught it here, is the Tibetan system. I repeat that purity is needed, no lust, no bad passionate thoughts, because then the blade of the sword turns against us, and the student can fall into the abyss if he misuses these teachings. I think that the Gnostic brothers have already understood the purpose of the Vajroli Mudra, and I will not get tired of repeating that this is the most practical and precise system of transmutation for bachelors. I am referring to sexual transmutation. On teaching the Vajroli Mudra more practically, I must say the following. The fatal antithesis of the Vajroli Mudra is the horrible, unworldly, and abominable vice of masturbation. Whoever practices masturbation goes to the abyss, headed for the second death because of having profaned their own bodies, for having insulted and profaned, with their acts, the Holy Spirit. The third Logos. Be very careful then, brothers and sisters who practice the Vajroli Mudra, to not fall into that abominable and repugnant vice of masturbation. The Vajroli Mudra is very sacred, and a tremendous chastity, a great sanctity, an enormous love for the most sacred Holy Spirit and the Divine Mother Kundalini is required. I do not mean to say that the Kundalini will be awakened with the Vajroli Mudra, as I said previously, or that the superior existential bodies of our being will be created, no. The semen is merely transmuted into energy, that is all. It is clear that in order to awaken the Kundalini, the cooperation of the 3 forces of nature and of the cosmos is needed. This we have said previously, but it is worthwhile to remind you once more so that it is deeply engraved in your mind. The first force is the holy affirmation, the second force, the holy denial, and the third, the holy conciliatory force, which unites both. In other words, the Kundalini can only be developed by means of sexual magic or Sahaja Maithuna, that is to say, with the cooperation of the 3 forces. The man has the positive force, the woman has the negative force, and the Holy Spirit conciliates these 2 positive and negative forces. The Divine Princess Kundalini awakens with the fusion of the 3 forces. The superior existential bodies of our being could not be created with 1 force alone. The man only has 1 force, the holy affirmation. The woman has the negative force only, the holy denial. One needs therefore the union of the 3 forces, the positive or the negative or feminine and the neutral, which coordinates or blends both. Only thus is creation possible. Transmutation is always indispensable, an organic, fundamental necessity. It becomes necessary then to speak very broadly on this aspect, since the Vajroli Mudra, for example, which is a marvelous system of transmutation for bachelors, is practiced in India, Tibet, and in the Lamasery known as the Fountain of Eternal Youth. The objective of this system is to elevate the creative energy to the brain, in other words, to seminize the brain and cerebrize the semen. Inferential peace. Samael Aun Weor.